In July of 2005, we returned to the Land of the Elves with Morning's End Part 1. Since it's been a little while, a short recap of the story thus far is warranted. This whole web of intrigue began all the way back in 2002, where we were hired to kill some plagued sheep that were wandering around Ardoyne, a task that stretched the very limits of our patience with the Sisyphean task of getting farm animals to do what you want. Following that experience, we break into the plagued half of the city to rescue Elena on behest of her father, and following her rescue, she implores us to retrieve some science equipment so that she can do science-y shit on the plague. Breaking into West Ardoyne yet again, we get her stuff, she does her science, and after some quality peer review from an old guy in Varrock, come to the conclusion that there is no plague. Confronting King Lathis about this, he reveals that there is indeed no plague, but it is a cover for the threat of the Dark Lord, whose servants are gathering power in the west. He employs us to find a route through the dreaded underground pass, something that tests our sanity by us dealing with our supposed god losing it, and ending with us killing some weirdo who thinks he's the son of Zamorak. On successful completion of this quest, King Lathis enlists us to return back through the pass to make contact with his elven allies and assist them in assassinating his evil brother, King Tyrus. After being assaulted by a copious amount of traps in the forest of Fuck You Go Away, we rendezvous with some sketchy elves, do a bit of chemistry, and assassinate the king and probably a few dozen other people via barrel bomb. A job well done. We report back to Lathis, get intercepted by an elf named Arianwen, and we find out that we got duped and bamboozled, with Lathis being the evil king and Tyrus being the good king who was trying to defeat the Dark Lord. We finish up with roving elves, where one of the most frustrating to find people on the planet tasks us to undesecrate his grandmother's tomb, which we kind of did by mistake when searching for lost treasure a while ago. And we go accomplish this in a task that only takes as long as it does because we have to go back and forth over the goddamn mountains half a dozen times. And that is caught up with the current events in the land of elf nonsense. We go and find Elenid in the middle of the woods again, who informs us that Arianwen wants to talk to us in the elf town of Lieta. We get led there and given a snazzy little teleport crystal so we don't have to walk back here constantly, which is rather appreciated. Arianwen wants us to infiltrate the mourners, who are actually elves that work for Iorth to keep the plague illusion going. We do this by intercepting a new recruit on their way to Ardoyne, giving them an early retirement, and repairing their frankly shoddy and bloodstained gear. We wash the top with some stolen soap, and bring the pants to an elvish seamstress because of course we have to go to Lieta to fix some pants. We have our outfit, and we're ready to go sneak around the mourners' headquarters. The head mourner, who is utterly convinced that I'm also an elf despite never seeing my face, tasks us to maintain the illusion by dyeing sheep to make them seem sick to poorly educated farmers and naive adventurers. To do so covertly, we need this device thing, which is unfortunately broken and can be repaired by this gnome who is being held captive, which of course means that he won't help us because he's way too hard to break. Fortunately, he really hates being tickled and fed toad crunchies, and will fix the device for us if we release him. With our fixed device that is totally not a rocket launcher in hand, along with plentiful ammunition of some toads inflated with dye, because why not add some animal cruelty into the mix, we head out to re-dye the sheep at range. Having succeeded at our task, the head mourner assigns us to now make people sick so that they are plagued and can be quarantined into hard labor. He remarks that the mourners recently got some sort of illness that mimicked the supposed plague symptoms, so that's pretty easy to do since we're the ones who gave them all food poisoning. We grab some rotten apples and go to Elena to give her a small heart attack before getting her to help us in committing a war crime. To make this poison, we fill a barrel with a bunch of rotten apples and mash it up into goop. then mix it with some naphtha to dissolve the toxin, strain out the solids, and then heat the solution to evaporate the liquid and produce an easy-to-distribute powder. We distribute our suspicious white powder in the food supplies in West Ardoin, and report back to the head mourner that we've committed a crime against humanity. He reveals that all the forced labor is being used to excavate towards some powerful magic source buried in an ancient temple, which will accelerate the Dark Lord's return should the Isleworth elves manage to acquire it. He says we'll have some more work once they get a key made to actually get into the place, so we'll just come back later. Surely this next task won't be difficult. Did you ever want to become kind of ghostly? How about learning about what happened with this empty lord guy we found out about in Digside and Desert Treasure? That ring of visibility that took 20 lockpicks to obtain burning a hole in your pocket with no use? Well, fear not, for all of those questions shall be answered in The Curse of the Empty Lord. And no, I'm not going to use the proper name. The curse still exists from the perspective of our character, so it's the Empty Lord. We start out talking to Valdez, who is hanging around Glariel's tomb, who tells us a bit of a story before directing us to find the next ghost in the chain. Each step gives us a bit of ghostly robes and more lore. Valdez here was a worshipper of Saradomin, who one day discovered a great artifact, the Staff of Armadil. If you recall, that's the thing the sketchy guy Lucian wanted us to steal and we elected to not because stealing great artifacts is wrong when it doesn't go into our pockets. But regardless, Valdez elected to take it so that Saradomin could gain more power, but on the way to Intrana to deliver it, the staff was stolen by a guy named Renard, and that this staff was related to why he's cursed to be an invisible ghost. As opposed to the visible ghosts we see all over the place. Finding Renard, his part of the tale is as such. He stole the staff from Valdez and went to a thief bar, realizing that the staff would be of great value to a god named and sent a messenger named Karim to the god's court to facilitate the delivery. Instead of showing up, a general by the name of Zamorak showed up instead and took the staff. Karim the messenger details his account of events following being contacted by Renard. Karim knew exactly what the staff was, so when he was contacted to find a buyer for Renard instead of contacting he contacts General Zamorak instead. What Zamorak did with the staff Karim doesn't know, he was busy doing other work, but he does know that a Saradominist spy named Lanissa was skulking around, so she might know? Lanissa was doing work for the Saradomin armies, keeping tabs on the forces of who she calls the Empty Lord. She became aware that the staff was to be sold to and informed a mage named Dalak to inform Saradomin that getting the staff would be very bad for everybody. Dalek, like all of the other ghosts, is aware that he's cursed, but he doesn't know why. What he does know is the actions he took after being informed by Lanessa about the staff. Instead of informing Saradomin, he elected to enchant the staff so it remains hidden and allow Zamorak to gain access to it, as that would empower the growing faction that opposed the rule of the Empty Lord, weakening his overall power. The final breadcrumb we get is direction to a man named Vigora, who was one of the few humans Zamorak allowed to rise to power in his forces. Vigora is a bit abrasive to talk to, but after some coaxing, he finishes the tale. Zamorak and his honor guard, which included Vigora, took ownership of the staff, then moved to attack the Empty Lord directly as a coup. During this battle, Zamorak backstabbed with the staff, and in the following scuffle resulted in both and Zamorak being impaled on the staff. As Zamorak stood, empowered by Ascension and faded out of the world, all who were involved in this betrayal were cursed by his name. And, of course, the Empty Lord's name is Zeros. And he is returning. Return returning to Keldagrim with quest number 87, we meet up with Veldaban, who informs us that after the last quest, the Red Axe didn't just rage quit the meeting, but rage quit the entire consortium. Upside, they no longer have to deal with 4-4 tie situations. Downside, it's really suspicious that they just ditched so much market share, and Veldaban wants us to investigate. Our only clue is a drunken dwarf who lives in the east of the city who starts freaking out whenever the Red Axe is mentioned. The dwarf is very, very drunk, and will only answer our questions if we get him a drink. Now, a regular beer isn't good enough, he needs a super special beer called a Kelda Stout, which, because of the addition of farming as a skill as well as the ability to brew ales, we get to do the entire thing by hand. Brewing needs 2 things farmed. First, some barley, which I did as part of getting the levels for this quest, and then some Kelda hops, which we need to retrieve the seeds for. Our drunken informant gives us the first seed. The second can be gotten from the rowdy dwarf in exchange for a set of bat bones. The third is from Gauss, who gives it to us in exchange for a drink. And the fourth is from Korvac, the dwarven engineer, who also just wants one of the free drinks that are within reach. You know, the same thing he asked for the last time we talked to him. With the 4 seeds, we can go to the hops patch in Keldagrim and plant them. Instead of us sitting on our butt waiting up to 20 minutes for the plants to grow, Ryan gives us a letter to deliver, so we go and do that and get some seeds because hooray, more farming. We like farming things. It's the best skill ever. I sure love putting seeds into the ground and then waiting for them to grow and then finding out that they got fucking sick a minute after I left to go do fun things, so I get to go wait even more. I also love paying people to watch my crops for me, with other random crops that I also have to grow, instead of paying them with money, like sane fucking people. Oh boy, I fucking love farming. Oh hey, the hops are grown. With our Kelda hops in hand, we bring our barley malt over to the brewer and chuck all this stuff in a vat to do beer stuff, which takes another 20 minutes. Because of course, a proper stout takes time. With our Kelda Stout in hand, we return to the drunken dwarf and are finally able to ask about the Red Axe because he's thoroughly blasted. Turns out that our boozed up friend used to work for a now defunct company called the Magenta Accordion before he wandered around the abandoned southern mines and almost fell into the abyss and encountered some weird pink dragons. With a real clue, we talk to our good buddy at the Purple Pewter to gain access to the tunnels, and then we need to go tell Veldaban something. I forgot what I needed to tell him. Oh well, probably wasn't important. Anyone want a beer? And a kebab. Yeah, let's go get a beer and kebab. Fuck this quest. Fucking farming and crawling around random dirty tunnels. Who fucking wants to do that? Let's go to the pub and have a beer and kebab with her. Whatever it was, I forgot, wasn't important. Whatever, it's fine. You didn't think I'd leave you hanging, did you? You want to know what happened in those tunnels? Well, what happened was this. We get into the abandoned mine and engage in some good old route puzzling. These puzzles are pretty simple. We put track junction bits down to get as far as possible, which usually produces chests with more track junction bits, and we eventually get to the other side to find out lovely, fun information in the form of cutscenes. With such a staggering revelation, we continue into the complex and get another minecart route puzzle. This path reaches an archive room where we can find some documents relating to the bribe that kicked off this whole questline. The drunken dwarf who got a bit over-enthusiastically mind-wiped to conceal the fact that he found this place, and some info on Red Axe employees. Moving on through another minecart route puzzle, we go and, well, we find this. And that's what happened. It'll be probably fine to leave this for a while. Oldschool doesn't even have the rest of this questline. This quest. This fucking quest. This is the farming quest. No, not the cool farming quest where you get neat lore about fairies and useful unlocks. Those are later. This is the farming quest where you just work as a gardener for a bitchy queen and your reward is a ring. While there's certainly quests I say are worse, I dislike this quest because it's just a bunch of farming, and well, if you haven't picked up by now, I don't like farming. But complaining won't get the quest done, so let's do this bitch. We start off by talking to Ella Maria, the Queen of Varrock, who is standing around in an empty garden. As we are the helpful sort, we offer to help, and the Queen accepts this peasant's assistance, as meager as it may be. We get a list of seeds and instructions to not murder our way to the solution. As much as I dislike Ella Maria, she does have a point that our two tools are 1. Murder, and 2. Excessive distribution of alcohol. So adding asking nicely to our list might actually do us some good. The wise old man holds our solution to the problem. He also has dirt on Ella Maria that she isn't actually royalty, she was a barmaid until Rold met her. Turns out that the ring we yoinked from Frankenstein has more power than just confusing werewolves, and the wise old man will unlock it for us in exchange for answering questions diplomatically. We also need to pick up some seeds because, of course, the farming quest makes us farm. The vast majority of this quest takes the shape of go talk to farmer, charm their pants off, they give you a seed in exchange for you planting something in their field and then waiting for it to grow. The exceptions to this are the white tree, where we just have to get a cutting, the rose bushes, where Brother Althric demands we chuck our fancy ring down a well before he will give us anything, which we just retrieve by fishing it back out later. It's not a big deal. The Berthorpe Vine, where we need to heal the diseased vine to get a cutting. We basically have to go talk to some druids and learn how to make a better plant restore potion than the one that we normally use, which is really just taking an existing one and putting some ground up rune essence in it. The statue of a former king, which we just steal from Lumbridge Castle. And a statue of Saradomin, which we just steal from Falador. With all of the needed seeds, cuttings, statues, etc., we start planting in the garden, which fortunately does not take very long. And at long last we get to show King Rold the result of our labor. And that's the quest. We are thankfully free of farming for a while. Well, not really, because I need to get 40 in 4 quests, but I can dream. Do you know what we need after a long day of sitting on our hands waiting for a skill to happen? A nice cat quest. A Tale of Two Cats was released on the 26th of September 2005 and expands a bit on the story of Bob, the Jagex cat. We start out by talking with Unferth in Berthorpe, who remarks that his cat Bob has wandered off and wants us to find him. Now, normally this is a very difficult thing, as cats tend to do whatever, but Hild can enhance our cat speak amulet to find Bob. This lets us basically triangulate his position, or we can take an alternate approach using our ability to move between nigh-identical parallel realities until we find one where Bob is nearby. Bob informs us that he left home because he met a cute girl by the name of Neat, but she won't talk to him because he doesn't know his lineage. This leads us to the source of all cats, Gertrude, who also knows nothing about Bob, But our cat, of all people, suggests the utter left-field connection to Robert the Strong, some long-forgotten hero of legend. And you know what that means? We get to go talk to Rodo, who will probably tell us to go find a book again. And he just tells us straight up, okay, I'm not complaining, but this is kinda suspicious. Although Rodo is also not very much help. All he has to tell us is that Robert the Strong was a 4th Age hero who fought immortal monsters known as the Dragonkin with his panther sidekick Odysseus. This information is similarly not too helpful to Bob. However, our cat drops another left field suggestion that the Sphinx can help access these lost memories. When has our cat, who has spent most of her life in the bank, learned these things? Fortunately, the Sphinx helps unlock some of Bob's former life as Robert the Strong. And of course, being the reincarnation of a great hero is a fantastic lineage, and since Bob is about to be a very busy kitty, he asks us to look after his human. Unferf is, quite frankly, a disaster of a person, dependent on Bob to do basic home tasks, and since we are doing Bob's chores, we get to fix this stuff. We have to tend the garden and plant some potatoes. No, not more far. Why can't I escape you? Why? As we tidy up the house, keep the human warm, feed the human some milk and cake, trim the human, because this absolute disaster of a man can't take care of himself. Our human is also under the delusion that he is sick, so we go and get a placebo from the apothecary and dress up like a doctor again to cure our human. Having taken care of Bob's human for him, we find him again through the power of parallel realities and see what he's been doing while we have been doing all of his work. Faffing about on holiday. That's what he's been doing. Fuzzy bastard. So, you remember last time when we did the tour of classic Fable puzzles to get a hat and to join the Falador Secret Police. Turns out we kind of skipped a couple of steps, and that's causing a problem. We're supposed to be a White Knight before joining the Temple Knights, but we're kind of not part of the White Knights, so we need to fix that. Now, certification has a plan, and the plan is as such. We go, and we say we want to join the White Knights. They don't care about the Temple Knights thing. However, we refuse to be a squire. We want to be deputized, which can be done in the case of a crisis. Now, of course, that means we can't really do any White Knight business until we get deputized, which requires there to be a crisis, and who knows how long that will take to happen. Oh, wait, there's, There's this one guy named Solus Delager who's been kind of wandering about and causing trouble. He's some sort of infamous murderer, mage, dude. You know, bad news. That sounds like a crisis, so, hooray, we're now deputized. Also, hooray, we have to chase after an incredibly dangerous mage. Now, before we can run off and do things more fun than farming, we need a radio so that we can be told what to do. We hand over the various requisite materials to certification because there is no way that I am giving this man 10,000 GP. I'm an Iron Man, I am poor. We get our little comm orb and off we can go to adventure. Our information specialist, Savant, tells us to find the trail by going after Solus's past associates, the Black Knights in Taverley Dungeon, and then the Mage of Zamorak that we did some industrial espionage for last time. At Taverley, Lord Decarius doesn't want to help, so we beat up some of his guys and he folds like a soggy box. He still isn't particularly helpful, but he does say that Solus went somewhere with fur that wasn't bare. The Mage of Zamorak will tell us what he knows in exchange for 20 rune essence because the bum is too lazy to go mine it himself. But regardless, he says that Solus went east. The only place east with furries is Canifis, so off we go to investigate. We wave our comm orb around a little bit and Solus reveals himself to mock us and then teleport somewhere else. And now comes the chasing the bad guy around the world in a madcap adventure part of our quest, where the teleport technique Solus happens to be using tends to pick up random objects from the vicinity of where he currently is located, so we can track him based off of the stuff that gets shot back to the last place he was, which happens to be where we're currently standing. Finally, we as in Savant, manage to stop his teleports, and we catch him in the Rune Essence mine. Where a squad of soldiers pop into existence to stop him and instantly die to a single ice barrage, dealing 700 damage. Did these guys train range with cannons and are all currently ill? Regardless, the sheer power of casting a spell that mighty and expensive takes its toll, and we firmly smack Solus into the dirt using a significantly weaker ice spell to flex on him, and then steal his hat as proof that we actually dealt with him. And hooray, our problem is solved. Up next is, I'm gonna need to get some stuff. So see ya!